visited me the moment I was made Minister of Aviation is Dr. Peter Mba. I said, this man will not even allow me to settle down first. He was visiting me in Abuja almost every week. The governor was relentless. The governor was persistent. The governor kept pushing. I said, this private sector, the spirit you are bringing into Enugu, you want to make Enugu explode? But it was incredible. He was not even waiting for us to come to him. Dr. Peter Mba was coming to Abuja almost every week to press the buttons to make sure that a couple of things happened. When we told him the process of an AOC, because before you start an airline, you must have an air operating certificate, an AOC. And sometimes it takes 2 years to get your own AOC to operate. He said, no, I will not wait for 2 years. I will go and partner with somebody who already has an AOC. Let us start immediately. I said, Haba.
Yes, sir.
And so that was how we said, look, if that is what you want to do, the regulator, the DG said, we will support you because it's part of our rules. We approached XEJet, we approved XEJet, and all of a sudden he went around, acquired these aircrafts, and here is Enugu Air today. He has made it available. There will be flights from Enugu now. Enugu will be a bigger international hub now. And I just whispered to him that we are going to approve regional operation from here very soon.
Yes, sir.
To African states. To African states. Bring your letter tomorrow. We are going to approve regional operations from here.
You're still on to the, Business Morning Special on Afia Television, channel 254 DSTV, 17 Go TV, and of course, 7483 TV. I'm Nnamdi Obaya, and here with me, Oji, Wachuku Oji, who has been here. And of course, I keep looking left when I should be looking right because, you know why I'm looking right. It's the Eastern Eye, the eye from the right. It's here on set with me. And of course, our, what we call him, Travel Supremo, Mr. Wilson Uchiogo is here with us as well. Good morning, good to have you on.
Thank you very much.
So,
thank you.
Let me start with you because you're the aviation person. So let me start with you. The Honorable Minister has come and made some pronouncements. You know, they'll start the export processing in Enugu. They're going to have it's going to become a regional hub. They've even said that they're going to approve the cargo, the runway, and the other side for cargo. How does this, before Enugu Air came in, we already had one foreign operator here. How does this now impact the Enugu airport? Being that they've not yet opened the international wing, you know, is that airport, as somebody who is always there, is the airport ready for this kind of activity?
Okay, thank you very much. I think, let me first of all start by commending the state governments for these achievements. Some other states would have want to do the same, but of course, this governor took it upon himself. And when you look at his activities, you find out that it's actually synced. All his economic decisions are geared towards achieving a given aim or a given target. And coming to the question you asked me, you find out that, of course, a foreign airline has been there. But of course, Enugu Air is coming as a local airline for now. They might decide in future to expand and all of that. But whenever we have such opportunities, it exposes or it evolves our regional aviation industry into a bigger, bringing them into the limelight. Now, the foreign airline can connect, but the local one will ensure the regional connectivity.
But my question now is, the foreign airline is Ethiopia Airline, who has been operating out of the East for a long time. They have been, of course, not having it easy because they are yet to complete the international wing.
Okay, in terms of facilities.
In terms of facilities, I'm asking now that it's already a stress. Now with Enugu Air coming in again, is that airport facility?
No. I think it's going to be overstretched. Now, I think one thing they need to do is to ensure the speedy completion. Because I tell you, even for an airline, an international airline to operate in that kind of circumstance, there should be enough space.
Yes.
And today, as we speak, the airline is only using 3 counters, which is against the international standard. And then you cannot have airlines, both international and local, operating in the same frame. Because your international passengers there are certain rules that you need in screening international passengers. You can't have both the local passengers and the international passengers on the same distance. So it takes a little while. It even exposes them to a certain level of degree of insecurity. Because your international passengers are your international passengers. They must, from onset, while they are walking in, be distinguished as international passengers.
Yeah.
So they ought to go through what we call the international wing.
Where you have customs, immigration, NDLEA, everybody.
But when you are flying on local routes, you are not subjected to certain screenings. I'm not saying certain international screenings because there's a standard.
You don't need customs and immigration for a local flight. You're within.
Yeah. So I think at this point in time, there's now pressure. There must be pressure on both our state governments who will push the federal government to complete that international way.
Okay, Mr. Alex, let me come to you. There's been conversation. People have been talking about a lot of things. Counter, talk about the rightful things. Okay, yes, it's great that this happened. Some other people are like, why this now? And my question is, are we ripe for this? Is Enugu State ripe for this? And are we even ready to accommodate all the influx this is going to bring to Enugu?
You ask your question, how big is the city of Kigali? So what do you mean by a city being ripe? So because what I see a lot of times when people want to criticize a government, they start saying that how will this then impact the people? So if the government says it has a plan to welcome 3 million visitors yearly, and you cannot catch a flight from Abuja to Enugu or from Lagos to Enugu, that's not possible. You're expecting NBA conference in August, and you are depending on flights that may not be available for them.
5,000 lawyers in the same flight window. So
you now understand that if you have a government that is thinking, you easily notice it.
Yeah, sure.
So everything he's put in place tends to connect the CNG buses, the bus terminals, and the Enugu Air. So if you're expecting a lot of visitors in your state, you have to have the infrastructure to move them around. So those who are criticizing the government, it's their right to do that. But they also find out that a little over 10 years from now, nothing was happening in the state. Now I'm being modest, because from what we have seen in the state in the last 2 years, the state was idle in the last administration. Nothing was happening here, typically. So at the end of the day, you have a government that wants to distinguish Enugu and place Enugu where it is supposed to be. This is not politics. Some people don't like transformative change when it's coming. There will always be complaints, even at the time of Jesus. Some people didn't like that the woman cleaned his feet with expensive oil. Said he should have given it to the poor. So, but Jesus responded that there will always be poor among us. So government cannot solve all problems. We already know that. I've seen all the governors since 1999. Nobody has turned water into wine, and nobody will. But you want to see your governor thinking. You want to see a government that has bold ideas. The world will not wait for us. If you want your city to be livable and competitive in the 21st century, you have to put in place the infrastructure that can support that. If someone visits the state, the person will know that, yeah, people here are actually thinking. Even if you cannot afford everything you want, you see glimpses of something that looks like someone is in charge here and is thinking. So at the end of the day, Enugu Air is a welcome development. But I will pray and hope that they manage it well, so it doesn't go the route of Triax Airlines and Oriental Airlines in the past that, those airlines were not sustained. We had Imo Air.
We still have Cali Air. And
so at the end of the day, what this is about is that every government will be given the benefit of doubt for it to execute everything they say they will do. 2 years now, 3 years. Let's wait for them 4 years. We'll see the big picture of what they're doing. So those who are criticizing, they are right.
Okay.
There could be things I don't like, but I mean, it will not stop the government from operating.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
To add to what he said, I initiated the Aviation Career Meet, which is the foremost aviation summit here in the Southeast. And for my guests to fly into Enugu, in short, the guest speaker, I had to fly the person from Lagos to Abuja, from Abuja to Owerri, because there was no flight seats down to Enugu. In short, all of them, about 7 of them, I flew them from either Abuja or from Desen to Owerri or to Anambra, because at some point there was no seat entering Enugu. So for me, for the Enugu Air to come on board, I think it's a very commendable development. That's the truth.
I mean, you said something, and I think we should attack that point, which is, we have this in recent, well, let me say in recent times, it started a while back, but this habit of Nigerian flights, there's no terrible weather, nothing, they just wake up and say, your flight is postponed. Well, your flight has been postponed, has cancelled. Now, you have a new airline coming on stream and they want to give themselves a good name. I had an incident at an airline, I won't say which airline, in Lagos, last time I went to Lagos recently. They didn't have a flight coming back. When we got to the terminal, they had rented a private jet.
And then
They boarded us on it. Private jet, but with seats like a commercial airline. But it obviously belonged to one of these people like, XEJet or somebody owned it, because there was no, I looked at the tail and there was no carrier. And the tail was a totally different color.
That's right.
From the carrier I had paid for.
I think I've had that experience.
So I knew that they had rented.
it's also permitted in the aviation industry. The truth about it is that if there's a serious need for you to cancel your flight, there should be an arrangement. Because of course your passengers are as important as your company. Because if they are happy, your company will be happy. The fact is that sometimes you see people cancel flights from morning till evening.
Yes.
And then when they come to
they won't tell you
during evening, they will tell you it has been shifted indefinitely.
This thing you just said, which is morning till evening. I had an experience in Abuja, I think it was Aero then. They would not tell you. They say, please, every 30 or 1 hour, so sorry for the delay, we'll be with you shortly. And that's how from first flight, it was around 6:37 in the evening. It turned to a market of struggle for your seat.
Yeah.
But my flight had been 6:45 in the morning. And it was getting dark when I left Abuja. And if they had told us, oh, please, your flights come back by 6, I'd have left the airport, gone back into town, gone to Area 1, bought kilishi, come back. Because early flights, you don't have time to go and buy kilishi, you are rushing out. And that airport kilishi in envelope is fraudulent. It's fraudulent. But how does a new airline now, cope with the fact that, one, you might not always get the traffic. Well, the government trying to build a situation where there's always traffic into Enugu. But there are many reasons why you might not always get the traffic. One is not, the volume is not from one place. Enugu traffic can be coming from Abuja, can be coming from Lagos, can be coming from Abuja via Kano. It's not as if you always have a full Lagos-Enugu route or a full Enugu-Abuja route. It's kind of scattered. The second one is the price gap now. People who would not touch road with a 10-foot pole are now taking road because the gap in price between an air ticket and the comfortable rides is ridiculous. You're paying, in some cases, depending on the rush, almost 10 times the price of what you will pay to take road. So how does a new airline cope with this? And with the fact that people might want, complimentary tickets.
Of course, I think one of the examples I would give is the issue of Ethiopian Airlines. Though it's an international airline, it is 100% owned by the government. but 100% managed by private individuals. Government doesn't interfere. I see that happening with Igboke Air. You saw a situation whereby Igboke Air has consolidated, and being that it's a state-owned company, state-owned airline, they have been able to sustain movements from anywhere, connecting people from everywhere, especially Lagos and Abuja, down to Uyo. There has never been any time you need flight into Uyo that Igboke Air will not be there to serve you. Now for the new entrance, which is Enugu Air, one thing is going to guarantee is that there is going to be an increased competition. And which is of course we are going to see that the result is going to come in fare reduction, because there's going to be what we call a fare clash. I was supposed to travel to Abuja with the first Enugu Air flight, even though because I was stuck in Soka yesterday. So, but I checked the rate. The rate is 110. It was earlier 150. And next time I checked, it was 110. And I can't remember when last I traveled to Abuja with 110,000. It has always been 180, 185. Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember that time I traveled below 200,000.
No,
I didn't even. Maybe you're an insider.
Well, I think it depends on when you buy the ticket.
But for me to buy a ticket of Enugu Air a day before the flight, which of course immediately is getting close to the flight.
It goes up.
It just goes up. And sometimes the seats are fully booked. And then when you get to the airport, somebody will say, okay, why don't you wait for the seat to drop? I saw the issue that happened between the senator from Edo State and all of that. There were certain things she threw up that people try to ignore. As an aviation person, I feel that such things should not be ignored. When you have the seats fully booked, and then you come to the airport, and then somehow seats manifest. So, but I wouldn't want to dwell on that. But I feel that competition is going to deal with that, address that. So, for me, a day to the flight, to buy my airfare for 110,000 going to Abuja, if there are airlines that already have their prices at maybe 150, 180, they will quickly adjust.
That's right.
Because there is competition. So I am not ruling out the fact that we are even expecting more airlines. If XEJet or XEJet want to even operate their own airline, they should go ahead and do that. The more, the merrier.
But don't you think this is just a sweet put somewhere to attract the ants? Then later on, they just follow suit and, with the
it's permitted in competition in business.
But you see that typically what has happened, which of course what Mr. Wilson was referencing, that if you are from Enugu and you want to come back to Enugu from Lagos or Abuja, these are the two key places, you can't find a flight. And
when
now, when you want, and this is...
It's still lottery.
No. So the biggest issue here isn't the cost. Because once you want to go back, you want to fly to Enugu. Maybe you have a conference to catch. And if you've paid attention, and I referenced that in the beginning, that what would bring you to Enugu? Because at the end of the day, why is the government floating Enugu Air? And if you have been to the International Conference Center, almost every day, there is an activity there. And the activities are involving people who are not from this state.
From outside.
So if that is the case, a lot of those people will use flights to come in. So imagine that some of them were not able to get a return flight arrangement. So if you come here, you can easily, maybe in your hotel room, you book an Enugu Air back. Because sometimes you get your flight, but you're not able to get a return. Sometimes it's available in the morning going, but it's not available in the evening returning. So meaning that you have to make another arrangement even from another airline. So giving Enugu people a choice is part of it.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm paying attention to people who are criticizing or saying that this isn't nice. I'm paying attention to the alternatives they are proposing.
Which are?
They haven't proposed any alternative. I'm paying attention. I'm all ears. I'm here to moderate it, but nobody wants to. Nobody wants to talk about what should be the alternative.
From the media lens, right? Let's talk projection right now. From the media lens, what metrics would you say you used to ascertain if this Enugu Air is successful or will be successful or a missed opportunity?
I think from the lens of an Enugu man, I am an Enugu man before I became a journalist. So let me take it from that lens. I'm excited that we'll have an airline bearing our name. Secondly, if you look at what the governor is doing, if you align this airline with the plans of the governor, this airline should succeed on paper. Except, of course, they derail from that plan.
Exactly.
As stated by Festus Kiamo.
No, okay.
They're giving you the airline, pay for it, and don't do
yes.
character.
No, Festus Kiamo, what Festus Kiamo is telling you is truth. The pure truth.
Can we just take a very short break?
That's right.
We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us. We do apologize for that. Unavoidable technical issues. These things happen. There will always be gremlins in the machine, no matter how hard you try. We'll always just do our best to make sure that whatever happens, the show goes on. So we're still discussing what happened yesterday and the impact. And now, Wilson, I need to ask you this very key question, because you talked of the pricing, and something happened last December most people missed. If you were landing in Ugwu, Ibom Air were charging 120, when everybody was charging 200 plus. And we saw the entirety of the Abia Christmas community land in Ugwu and go from Ugwu to their various villages in Abia State, some being nearer than others. The Bende people going directly, the Umuahia people coming through Ikotekpene. We saw them, just from Uyo straight to their hometowns, because it was the cheapest flight if you are going to Uyo. So Enugu has an opportunity to do something like this. And we saw what happened last December. You couldn't get a room in Enugu. Do you foresee something like that this December again?
Exactly, we're already seeing it, because the feeds I get from especially the hotels, because there are back-to-back events happening in Enugu. That's why when Mr. Alex talked about it, you cannot plan to receive visitors, the magnitude of visitors that the governor mentioned is expecting into the state, without having an efficient transport system, both connecting into the states and then also within the states, the intra and the inter. So all those things has to be in place. And then another thing is that investors, there are certain investors that will not come to your state if there is no efficient air travel, because they are not going to go by land. So sometimes when people want to book their flights, maybe international flight, and they know that they are going to fly into Enugu directly, that makes their job or their travel easier. Then necessary things they will now begin to consider is the state of security and every other thing. But connectivity is very key. And for the government to have taken the initiative, of course they would have invested the money they put into Enugu Air into another sector. But of course they understand that having done all, if people cannot access the states by air, then there is still something to be achieved. So one thing, connect through air, then every other thing will now be put in place. Especially like when he set up building 360 room hotel. That's also geared towards ensuring that as far as we can receive you, then you can connect.
All right, we're out of time, but I'm going to ask for just a one-word answer. One-word answer. Do you think, it's just yes or no, do you think Enugu Air would still continue to thrive after this administration leaves office? Just yes or no.
Okay.
I think it will continue to thrive. I think that what would happen is that it will be quite a shame if someone that comes after is not able to handle what has been put in place.
You know what happened?
I think that the voters, the voters, including those who are criticizing this today, will also come after the person who can't just maintain.
Remember Sullivan's refuse trucks.
Remember,
Yes, yes.
remember crossing
I
the
think
states.
one thing we need to consider in leadership, and especially succession, is to be intentional. And in Africa, we have not done that very well. You see that a governor will wait till almost 7 years, 9 months. He now remember that he has to hand over. So from day one, there has to be a plan.
A grooming plan.
Thank you. So right now, I expected that Governor Peter Mbah, in as much as you might go for second tenure, or you will be going for second tenure, let me not use the word might, you will be going for second tenure. By now, you should have set up a structure that would ensure continuity. Because having laid all this foundation and then maybe hand over and things doesn't continue the way you want it, then a leader who doesn't have a good successor is a failure. That's the truth.
Thank you so
was
much.
deep.
That's a powerful way
was
to
deep.
end the program. Thank you so much. You saw the powerful ending. But then we have powerful men on set. We also have the Eastern Eye, Alex Ogbodo, who was talking to those who know themselves.
Yes. That's the Akbarongenes. Those from Enugu know what I mean. Akbarongenes. Those who are criticizing Enugu Air will still board it and fly back to Enugu. Mark my words.
Of course, on behalf of Everybody Production, Natalie Ugwu, who was here with me early in the morning. I'm Nnamdi Obaya.
Nigerian OG, Nwachuku, have a great day. Bye for now.